Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and this is my first time joining the Just Our Imagination Challenge. We have host Rustic and Lace DIY and Kathy Joe's DIY, and our co-host is Craft Classy. I will link their channels in the description box below, and let's get started on our first project. What happens here is they give us 3 items that we are challenged to work with and create something. The first item was cardboard. Hello. Who of us has any extra cardboard left over after Christmas right now? I do. My both hands are waving, and my feet and toes too. So, hey, I have a lot of cardboard left over. So what I did is I thought I would make a Valentine garland. So I got my images off of creativefabrica.com. I will leave that in the description box below. I blew those images up to about 3 inches each, printed them out, cut them, and used them to trace my cardboard pieces out. Once I had those cut out, I went ahead and misted my cardboard so that I could go ahead and peel one side of that off and expose the corrugated part. Now, if you spray too much water, you will damage the whole cardboard piece. But if you let it spray, I just misted it, let it sit, and then peeled off that top layer of the paper on that cardboard, exposing the corrugated part. Once you do that, you are going to set them aside and let them dry completely. I did 24 hearts because I had 12 with the sayings on them, the conversation hearts, and I wanted 12 to be just the corrugated facing out on the garland as well. So I'll have 12 with the conversation hearts and then 12 with the corrugated side. So I went ahead and got my Mod Podge. I keep it in a mason jar because I can see how much I have and it opens easier for me. I'm going to go ahead and use just a plain old brush, and I'm going to just put a light coat of Mod Podge on my corrugated side, and then I'm going to flip it over and put it on the flat side as well. I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to flip them over and do it again. So there's going to be 2 coats on both sides of these cardboard hearts. So while the Mod Podge is drying, I'm going to go ahead and take some of my tea dye, distressed oxide ink, and I'm just going to go around the edges of my conversation hearts and give them a little bit of a distressed look. Not too awful much. Now my dauber there, my little brush dauber, had a little bit of another color on there, so I went ahead and just brushed it right on off. And the tea dye is not much different. It is a great color for something like this because it's almost the color of the cardboard itself. Once those are done, we're going to come in with our Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and I'm going to put a little bit on here, just a distressed, kind of looking like it was just splattered with paint across it, like you had spilled some paint and it just splattered across your hearts. There you go. On the flat side of 12 of the hearts, I'm just going to paint around the outside edge because that is what's going to be showing once I put my hearts down on top of this cardboard piece. And I'm going to do that on 12 hearts, and then we're going to go ahead and move on to our Mod Podge again. Once those sides are dry from the paint, I'm going to go ahead and put another coat of Mod Podge on both sides of the hearts. We are going to go ahead and use the iron-on method on the flat sides with the conversation hearts, but I do want to put another coat on the corrugated side as well to help seal that in again, so that will give us 3 coats of Mod Podge on both sides of our cardboard hearts. Now on some of the hearts, I did not want to have the corrugated edge showing so much on the where we would put in the conversation hearts. So I measured a piece of cotton twine and I just cut enough pieces, 12 pieces actually, to go over my conversation hearts once I've got the Mod Podge and the pictures all ironed on there. And now that all of our hearts have dried, it's time to use the Mod Podge magic of a iron. I think this is one of the coolest tricks I've ever learned here on YouTube. I'm not sure who came up with it. Probably the Mod Podge people, right? I have some parchment paper here and my little iron. It was not an expensive iron. I got it on Amazon quite some time ago. It has 1 setting, which is perfect for what I use it for, which is pretty much this. I also use it when I'm pressing little pieces of fabric for crafts, but that's about it. I'm just going to finish all of my hearts this way with my parchment paper and my hot iron. Once those are all done, I'm going to go ahead and take my little cotton pieces here, and I've got some hot glue. Now, because this is cardboard and cotton, I can use hot glue on here and not have to worry about it coming apart later. I'm so sorry I'm a little off camera there, but you can see it's just a matter of dabbing some hot glue down and then laying your cotton right down on that line. Now, be careful with your hot glue. You can use a little finger protector I showed there. My hands are pretty tough when it comes to heat. I've been crafting for quite some time, and I was a chef in an earlier life of mine, so I have some pretty tough fingers. But be careful. Don't put a lot of hot glue down because then you'll have some residual, and that's no fun. I think that these have turned out simply adorable, but they need some more. You know me, guys, I just want to step it up a notch. So these are dried and have been sprayed with an adhesive over the top to help seal them in. So I'm going to take my crocodile, punch a hole on one side of the heart, take my next heart and punch the hole on the other side of the heart. So now let's get some little messy bows done up to put on top of these. I'm going to show you how I make some little messy bows using a fork. So I'm going to take some of that white cotton and I'm going to wrap it around two of the center prongs here. And that's going to give me the twine to tie it. I'm now going to take the organza, put it down the center of the fork, pull it off to the right. I'm going to take my white lace down the center, pull it off to the left, the gingham to the right, the other lace to the left, and I'm going to pull it up, and that cotton twine is now going to tie a knot. I did not tie it tight until I pulled it off the fork. Now I've got messy bows. And I did 24 of those. Aren't they adorable? So now I'm going to go ahead and pull out the other hearts I did, just the corrugated ones, and they have some twine and rope around the edges too. And I just took a foam flower matching the colors and I just glued it on the front of that corrugated side. That was just such a simple, quick, cute little way to dress up those corrugated ones. Now let's put our messy bows on top here. So I used 12 feet of this lace ribbon, and it was the crocheted cream lace and then the regular white lace. And you know, trying to figure out the math of using the 24 hearts, how many ribbons am I going to need, where do I need to place everything. And so I measured 6 inches in, and I cut a piece of this buffalo plaid and glued it and tied a little knot on there and thought that that was going to be the right placement. Well, trying to do math late at night for me, I am not a mathematician. I am a creativity kind of girl, whether it's cooking or crocheting or crafting, but don't ask me to do math in front of people. And it didn't work. What I did is I used my messy bows here to actually tie them onto this ribbon. And as we go along, I'll explain where everything messed up and how I fixed it. So I'm going to just tie this on here and give a little glue there to make sure it's on there nice and tight. And then I'm measuring out 6 inches. Look at there. Or was it 3? It was 6 inches. And I tied it on there and made sure I had that hot glue on and tied it nice and tight. And then I measured another 3 inches and put a bow. So right there was my first mistake. I put the black ribbon down first, and then I measured 6 inches, put the heart down, and now I'm measuring 3 inches and putting the ribbon down. Do you see my math? No, it's not good math. That it doesn't work that way. So I went ahead and just kept on with this process, and I used the conversation hearts, and then I used the corrugated cardboard hearts, and I just measured every 3 inches and tied a ribbon or a heart. And I just kept going from here, and then it's like it clicked and it hit me. Something's not going to work out quite right. So by the time I was done, I ended up adding some more lace to stretch out my garland some more. I used some thicker crocheted lace to tie in between. So I did like 3 black check and then 3 crocheted ribbon and then 3 black check, 3 crocheted ribbon, and in between the conversation heart and the corrugated heart. I'm going to show you a video right now because it did turn out absolutely adorable. Here you go. So it did turn out adorable. Look at that. So you can see the black check ribbon in there, and you can see some of the thick crocheted ribbon in there, and it just turned out adorable. I have my Christmas tree up still. We were just taking it down today, and I thought I am going to show this on our Christmas tree. I would leave my tree up all year round and put this on during the Valentine and just cover my whole tree in this garland. I'm just in love. Time for the next project. It is paper clips. Look at all the different paper clips I have. This is one container. All kinds. These are the shapes and the fun ones. And then here are the colored ones that are the normal shapes. And I actually had to buy a box of plain paper clips, guys. Is that pretty sad? Here's what I used for this project. I have an image that I cut out of an ice skate, and I have material. I have the paper clips. I have stuffing. I have some fake suede and some ribbon, glue, and thread. Look at how cute these turned out. I'm going to show you how I made these. Let's make some red ones for Valentine's Day. First thing I did is find a simple image on creativefabrica.com, and this is the simple ice skate that I found, and I printed it out, and then I flipped it, and so I'd have a right and a left foot. Then I cut out each of those boots, and then I took the second image I did and I broke it down into sections. You can see there. Then I have my paper clips, and I just wanted to show you the different stages here of what we're going to do as we bend and manipulate this paper clip into an ice skate ski. So I'm going to show you how to do this a little slower than I did on the others. You're going to need some pliers of some sort. I'm using my jewelry making pliers and tools here. I have some silicone wire straighteners. I have the flat nose pliers, the needle nose pliers, and I have some bail makers. So I used all of these to create the different steps of this safety pin, this paper clip, making it into a snow ski. An ice skate ski. You know what I mean. So as these are all laid out in the different phases, you can see as we move right on up, and it helps to understand the process a little bit. You're going to take your paper clip, open it up, and straighten out that paper clip as best you can, leaving that tip closed up. Now that tip is going to be the front of our ice skate. So once you get those all straightened up and flat as best you can, we're going to go ahead and pull that open, and that's it. Just pull it right on open. That's going to be 3/4 of an inch from the tip where you pulled it open to the bottom of that ice skate blade. And then that is a third. We're going to take a third, which is actually the same width as my pliers, bend it down flat, straight. There you have it. There are 2 ice skate blades open. Now, the back side of our ice skate is going to be 1 1/4 inches. Now, I want to make sure that both of my ice blades are going to have the same curve, so I'm using my bail pliers there. You don't have to use bail pliers. You can use paintbrush, pen, pencil, whatever you have. Now, I bent up at 1 1/4 inches, and now I'm folding it flat down, as flat as I possibly can, coming in with my flat nose and squeezing them down. I don't have the hand strength I used to, so it does take me a little bit here, and I'm not going to bore you with that. Now, because I want these to be the same length as well, I'm using my bail pliers to hold it in place while I grab and bend up that second blade at 1 1/4 inches. It should be right at 1 1/4, but I want them to be the exact same size, so I just used my first blade. Now they're both bent down there, and I want to create this little hook on the top there to slide into our skate. So what I'm doing there is I'm going in a 1/2 inch from the outside of my backside of my blade, 1/2 inch, and then I'm bending that up, just straight up. I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Once again, I want it to be the exact same. So I'm just going to hold them in place with my bail pliers and bend that up right like that. Once you have both of those bent straight up, we're going to come up to the back side of our blade and come down a 1/4 inch and bend that down just enough. So now we've got a little piece at the end of our blade that can slide into our lovely ice skate boot. Ice skate blades are not round, they are sharp. So I wanted to give an illusion that these are actually a sharp blade and not a round piece of wire. So I am using my hammer here, my jewelry hammer, and I've got a weight, which is a rubber piece, and then I have one that's also a metal piece, and rubber on one side and metal on the other. And I'm going to just beat these down a little bit and go ahead and create a little dimension on our blades here. And you can see that it just changes the look of that just enough where it doesn't look like a flat, round piece of wire. It gives us the illusion of a sharp, shiny blade. So I'm going to do this with both of our blades, and I will be back with you. So I set our blades aside, and it's time to get our boots cut out. I just have some red cotton fabric here, and I folded it into quarters. And that's all I'm going to need in one boot. I didn't need to cut out both sides. That was a waste of time, but I did need to just fold the fabric into 4ths, and I could go ahead and do that. This is the laced up part of our boot that I trimmed out of our spare boot, and I'm lining it up on a corner. I did that on some spare fabric, and that created a pattern for the tongue of our boot, which is going to be a lot easier than lining it up on a curve all the time. And now I can just cut out one of those per boot, and it made it a whole lot easier than trying to cut each one out on a curve. So I'm just trimming my boot out and getting it ready so I can get them stitched together. Now you can see that I have 2 pieces for each boot, easy breezy. Now for the tongue, I'm using the corresponding fabric here of the red and white check, pinning down that little pattern that I made out of some extra cloth. And I folded that red and black check. I'm sorry, I'm so tired. Folded it in half so I just needed to cut one out, not a big deal. So once I get that cut out, I get to start stitching these all together. So I decided to go ahead and just use Fabric instead of stitching this. It will be faster for both of us if I can do it this way. I stitched the white ones with the black thread so that it would be contrasting for us. And here I'm just adding that glue right around that edge. So look how easy that is. It's just going to lay right there. And I'm going to glue the bottom and up and around the edges. I'm going to leave the top open so I can come in and stitch, stuff them. I'm going to come in and stuff them by leaving the top open. So now I'm going to come in with my stuffing and my skewer stick. And you can see just how it's a tiny hole, but it will work. And I just use pillow stuffing from a Walmart pillow. It's cheaper for me to buy a little bit at a time that way since I don't do great big projects. But you can see here where your glue, whether you had enough glue laid down or not. And look how easy that was to fix. And honestly, the glue will not leave a dark mark like hot glue or any other type of glue that you would normally use on fabric. This Fabric is wonderful. So just put it in there and give it a little pinch if you've missed a spot. I just wanted to show you how easy that was. Once you get it all stuffed in there, I'm just making sure and using my stick as I push it around. And sometimes it can be a little pain, but just get it in there and then you can glue across your top, give it a pinch, and let it sit. It is done, and you can now start on your second ice skate. Now I will say that when I stitched them, the blade was really easy to slide in, and it wasn't so easy with the glue, and so I'll show you how we fix that. Since I didn't use lace on the bottom of this, I thought I would go ahead and use a marker. I do change my mind later on, and it was really easy to fix. So I wouldn't even do this step if you were copying what I'm doing. Now here's where I start attaching the blade, and I'm just going to use that Fabric on the front and the back of our skate, and I'm going to sit that right on there and let it dry. It doesn't need anything special. Just sit it aside, let it dry, and we can come back in just a moment and finish doing that. Like I said, because I didn't stitch these, I couldn't slide them in between the front and the back of the skate. And this is where I decided that I would really like the toe and the heel to actually have a pattern on it. So if you remember, I cut out my patterns and I separated some of the pattern from the boot, the lace area. And so I'm just cutting the toe and the heel out of this small piece of my pattern, and I'm just going to use that to very easily just trace it out. And I put a T on for toe, and I'm gonna put an H on for heel, and so that I know which one is which. There you go. And then I went ahead and had to make sure which was the upright part of my heel before was able to cut it out. Which part did I need to actually place on the fold to just wrap it around that boot? And so I had to do that. Now I need two of each, and so I just took my fabric on top of each other and cut two of each out. So once I got those ends all cut out, we've got the top of the skate, the toes of the skate. I'm just going to put some Fabri-Tac glue on there. I am going to lay it down first so I know which way it's going, and put some Fabri-Tac glue on there and just lay it right across the nose of that skate. Lay it on there and then kind of look at it, make sure you've got it on right. There we go. And now I'm going to make sure I do it on the other skate. I want to do the fronts first, and then, you know, the backs and the tops, whatever I'm going to do that way, so that I know I've got them on there properly, and that they're looking exactly the same on each skate. I just came right in and trimmed that right around so they have a nice curvature on that. I'm going to come in and do the back heel now, and I'm going to do it the same way. You put them on kind of like an upside down mustache, so I'm just putting that Fabri-Tac on there, laying it up on that heel, making sure I've got it on there right. Now with Fabri-Tac, you are fortunate enough that if you do put it on upside down, it will lift up right away and you can turn it the other direction. It's not a big deal. You do have a few moments to actually mess with that. So before I finish and work on the top of that, I wanted some faux suede around the bottom to make it look like the sole of our boot before the skate goes on there. And so I have some of this faux black suede strap that I got off of Temu, and I measured it around the boot, put some Fabri-Tac there, and just ran that through the Fabri-Tac. That way I didn't have too much on my skate or actually on the piece of the faux leather, and I was able just to lay that right across there and lay it on down. I needed to add some more glue there. It just wasn't quite enough, but I got it on there nicely, laid it down and covered up the right where the paper clip goes on our boot. And then I just trimmed off any of the extra. And I did the same with our second ice skate, just dragging it through that glue, laying it across, and lining it up. And there you have that. I'm going to go ahead and trim off the extra, and that is ready now to get the top of our boot cuff on there. So I'm using, once again, the Fabri-Tac. I wanted to see just how wide I wanted that to be. I just needed to fold that right over in half. You know, that was just 4 squares of that buffalo, that red and black check. 4 squares, so it's 2 squares on each side that I needed to make sure I'd have. Folded it right on down and let it dry. Just pull it out and let it dry. I'm going to do that to the other boot. When that's dry, I'm going to trim it off. It does not take long for this to dry, so it was really easy to get this part done. I think it took, less than a minute for me to come back to it and actually trim off that edge. And you see I've got my tongues ready to go, and I'm going to do the same type of thing where I'm going to line it up. I want the tongue to come over the top of that boot cuff. So I started where I wanted that to line up, and then laid it right on the middle of our center of our boot where our shoestrings would go. And so I just grabbed it, gave it a pinch, and it is done. Look at that. Oh my gosh, it's coming together so well. Once again, lay it right on top there, give it a pinch, and you're done. I mean, there you have it. Okay, and now back to that faux suede. I'm going to cut, I believe I took about 6 inches, and I glued it to the outside of that boot, and then glued it to the outside of the other boot, and let it sit there for just a moment while it dried. And that was the perfect length of time for me to tie 2 shoestring bows to put on the front of our boot. See that? Oh, how easy. Did you learn to tie your shoes with the bunny ears? I didn't, but it would have been a whole lot easier for me. But that's what this is. Basically, it's a bunny ear bow. You get your 2 bunny ears and you tie them in a loop, and then you pull it nice and tight, and you cut off the extra. Make sure your bows, your loops are about the same size and your ends are about the same size, and then just trim them off. And I just lined the 2 up, made sure my loops are about the same, and I'm using my Fabrica once again, glue it right on the front of that, and it just fits perfect on the tongue of that boot. Oh my gosh, I'm so tickled at how these turned out. Oh, they're so adorable. And to decorate these for Valentine's Day, it was very easy. I have these little wooden hearts here, and I wanted 3 on each side of my boot, so I needed 12. And so I went ahead and used my paint pen here, and I colored each of them black on one side of the heart. You don't need the other one done. And while that paint pen was drying, I came in with a felt tip pen here, and I'm drawing on the stitches. Now here I just have some stitches. I'm going to go down the edge there and then right back up the other side. Easy breezy, no big deal, just so it looks like I've got stitches on the back of that boot. Here I'm just going around the edges of the patches, and of course crisscrossing up and down the side where our shoestrings would be laced. So once I was done with the stitches, I put the heart on there, and I thought, oh, I don't like that heel. Let's put a little bit more of that black on the bottom of that heel so it doesn't look kind of funny for me. So I just used the Fabrica once again, just measured it around there, cut 2 pieces that are the same size, and just used the Fabrica I glued it. I slid it through that glue and then wrapped it around that heel, let it dry, and just let it sit and dry while I did the other. I think I'd have a pretty good channel if I could actually talk properly and not have my own creative language. Creativity isn't supposed to be all about language, is it? And what do you think about these? Oh my goodness. I've never thought that a paper clip could look so cute. Here it is in like a bowl scatter, for Valentine's. Just scatter some around your house, or you can use them as ornaments. Next thing we have are hair scrunchies. Got this pack of 12 at Walmart for $3.98. And the first thing I thought of was bookmarks. The bookmarks that I was thinking of are the kinds that you can lay across the front of your book and use the inside to mark your pages. So the word trust, believe, adore would be across the front of your book. The first thing I did was I went ahead and along the seam of the hair scrunchie, I just cut it open. And then I opened and pulled out the elastic and cut that right on off there. And there I have a bookmark. Look at that. Super easy. Oh my goodness. This thing just kind of made me chuckle. So I went ahead and just made sure each of my ends were even. Once it was even, I laid it down and got my Fabri-Tac. So I went ahead and laid some Fabri-Tac onto the inside of the hair scrunchie, and then I was able to fold that into thirds. So I gave it a good squeeze, folded it into thirds, and then I clipped on a little binder clip to hold it into place. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And the first one I did, I just left the elastic in it. And so you can do it either way. So there's the elastic one, there's the one without the elastic, and I did them the same way. No big deal, except we had the elastic in the center. So now I'm going to take the Fabri-Tac again and layer it, and then I'm going to take my word and lay that piece of material from the scrunchie onto the inside of the letter where you will not be able to see it past that F or past that H. I wanted to make sure that it was a nice clean point there, and you could go ahead and hold that in there. The Fabri-Tac dries pretty quick, so it wasn't a big deal for me to take those binder clips and use them on just flipping them back and forth on each one I made. So I just held it on there with those binder clips, and then I just did the black one without the elastic in it, just the same way as I did the Faith. And there's the Cherish. They slide on and off real nice. They do only work on the smaller books, but that's fine. And you can see here, it just does not take much of that glue. You just sit it right on there and it just grabs a hold. I did place more of it onto the back behind the E because it did have to cover more of the E. There wasn't a lot of space to actually grab for the glue to hold on to, but it worked out just fine. And just look at how stinking simple those were. My goodness. Okay. And there's the believe. I mean, it's perfect. No problems. We're going to just slide it right on that book. You can see that it fits nicely on the small books, but it does struggle. You can't get it on the bigger books, and you'll see here in just a moment. And there you go. It just won't fit. So I wanted to make sure that I could have some that would go over the bigger books. So I went ahead and created some more bookmarks out of the headbands. That not the headbands. They remind me of headbands. Out of the scrunchies. Now you've seen that the Faith one actually snapped. Those wood pieces are very thin, the laser cut wood. So I thought of maybe painting a craft stick black and gluing it behind there to give it some more stability, but we'll see what I do. Alrighty then, that one was so easy I felt like I was cheating. So I'm going to go ahead and make some more bookmarks out of these hair scrunchies. Because those others didn't fit in larger books, I wanted to make sure and have some that I could use in some of the larger books that we have around the house. So I took and just cut it open, pulled out the elastic, and then trimmed it down to thirds. You see me, I just folded it into thirds there and then cut them evenly across there. I did that with the cream one, I did that with a gray one, and a brown one. So I brought these two pieces together, and then I did a blanket stitch, creating a new seam, looking like we've got a little miniature hair scrunchie there. And I went ahead and did the blanket stitch, and then I came back in with a little running stitch, just giving a little more stability on that seam I created. And then I did a running stitch across the top. I'm almost all the way off screen there, I'm so sorry. And then I pulled it nice and tight, and then I reinforced the gathering with our thread just to make sure it's not going to slide out anywhere. And then I went ahead and went back up the other side of our seam to the bottom half of our little scrunchie, and I will turn it right side out into a bowl, and then we'll do another running stitch all the way around and then pull that into a nice tight gather, creating our little rosette in our hair scrunchie. When you get that all done, all pulled nice and tight, I did come back in and reinforce that area as well so that my rosette would not come undone. And I went ahead and did a nice little stitch, did a little couple knots in there, and then cut it off and secured it well. Okay, so let's finish up the last of these bookmarks. I went ahead and took some of this thick twine, and I have a board across the bottom of my table right there. And what I did is I measured that twine twice and then cut it, and I did 3 of those per bookmark. So I went ahead and hot glued them together and laid it down and then pressed it together. It's not going to matter if you see some hot glue right now at this point, because we're going to cover this up when we're done. But I wanted to have it thick enough to put some ribbon across the bottom of that. But I also wanted each of those buds, those little florets, to hang off of an end of a rope. I thought that would be really cute. So here I'm just gluing these together. It's pretty simple. It comes right off of my table there, so I don't have to worry about that. This is a little lap table that I can use when I'm having issues with my back, that I can sit in my chair and not have to worry about sitting upright at a craft table and do this. So that's one of the reasons that I kind of got out of frame on a few spots earlier today, and I'm so sorry. But it does help me out when I'm having a bad neck day. So now I'm taking 3 of those little rosettes and I'm gluing to the back side. It doesn't matter what's the front and what's the back. For me, I just looked to see which one was going to be the better looking side. And for the white ones, you can see which the black thread didn't show through quite as much. And that was it. Look at that. Now I just glued those down there. And now I'm going to measure out this really pretty beige and blue plaid ribbon here. And I'm just going to measure it right on down and glue it as I go. And you're not going to be able to tell at all. And this is just going to add a little bit more flavor. I don't know, a little bit more flavor to this. Oh my goodness, yeah, it's my bedtime, guys. I'm flipping it over and going right back up the other side, and so that it matches up with the front side that I just did. And it's, once again, just the glue, lay it down, and look how easy that was. So once it's all done, oh my goodness, it is so stinking cute. Would you look at this? Look at this. It is so adorable. You can just put it in there in your book, and well, you can't really see it much here. Let me show you some pictures. And here you go. This is the bookmark scrunchies. Oh my goodness. I'm very happy with the way they turned out. I made 3 of them and I will be using them in my books. I will probably be selling 2 of them in one of my upcoming shows. And I just love the way these turned out. Oh goodness, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me today and this collaboration. I want to thank our hostess, Rustic and Lace DIY, and Kathy Joe's DIYs. They're our hostesses. And our co-host this month is Craft Classy. We want to thank you all so much for helping us move forward in this collaboration and see everybody's beautiful work. There will be a playlist in the description box below, so please go down there and check out all the crafters that are participating in this. And if you like this, give me a thumbs up. Not subscribed, consider doing so now. As always, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now.